The massive research vessel hung in orbit around the blue-green planet, its sensors working overtime to process the overwhelming amount of data streaming in. Captain Ross of the Galactic Science Council stood at the bridge, his 4 eyes widening as he reviewed the preliminary reports. "This can't be right," he muttered, his scaled fingers tapping rapidly on the holographic display. "Run the atmospheric analysis again." His chief scientist, Dr. May, floated forward on her anti-gravity pad. Unlike the captain's reptilian form, she resembled a delicate crystal structure that caught and reflected the starlight. "Sir, we've run the analysis 12 times. The results are consistent. This planet, it's unlike anything in our database." The planet below them, designated as Sol 3 by their star charts, should have been a simple survey mission. Instead, it was quickly becoming the most intriguing discovery in the Council's history. "Let me understand this correctly," Ross said, his secondary hearts beating faster as he read through the data. "The atmosphere contains highly corrosive oxygen at over 20%. The gravity is 9.8 times our standard unit. And the temperature variations, from below freezing to over 40 degrees in the same regions?" "Yes, sir," Dr. May's crystalline form pulsed with excitement. "And that's just the beginning. The planet experiences regular geological upheavals, massive electrical storms, and periodic floods. By all our standard classifications, this would be considered a Category-12 Deathworld." Ross felt a chill run down his spine. In the entire known galaxy, no Category-12 world had ever been found to harbor intelligent life. The conditions were simply too extreme. Yet the sensors were picking up clear signs of civilization, cities, transportation networks, and artificial satellites. "The most fascinating aspect," Dr. May continued, bringing up a new holographic display, "is the dominant species. They call themselves humans. They're carbon-based, but their biology is remarkable. They can survive in almost any climate on their planet, from frozen wastelands to scorching deserts. Their bones are reinforced with calcium, making them incredibly durable. And their healing abilities." She paused, double-checking her readings. "Sir, they can regenerate damaged tissue. Not just minor wounds, they can recover from broken bones, severe burns, even lost limbs can be partially restored with their medical technology." Ross moved closer to the viewport, studying the planet below. From up here, it looked deceptively peaceful. How did they evolve in such conditions? How did they survive long enough to develop civilization? "That's what makes them truly extraordinary," Dr. May replied. "They didn't just survive, they thrived. Their history shows constant adaptation and innovation. When the environment proved too hostile, they didn't perish or wait for conditions to improve. They built shelters, created tools, and gradually mastered their world's brutal conditions." The captain made a decision. "Prepare a detailed report for the Council. This changes everything we thought we knew about planetary classification and species development. And..." He hesitated, knowing his next words would be controversial, "begin preparations for first contact protocols." Dr. May's crystalline form flickered in surprise. "Sir? Are you sure? The Council's guidelines strictly prohibit contact with species from extreme category worlds. The potential dangers. The potential benefits outweigh the risks," Ross interrupted. "Look at what they've achieved in these conditions. Their technology, their adaptability, their resilience, we could learn so much from them. Besides," he added, a slight smile crossing his reptilian features, "they've already detected us." On one of the holographic screens, a small object was rising from the planet's surface, its trajectory clearly aimed toward their position. The humans had launched what appeared to be a greeting vessel. "Well," Ross said, straightening his uniform, "it seems they're just as curious about us as we are about them. Prepare the Universal Translation Matrix and the diplomatic protocols. History is about to be made." As the human vessel drew closer, both Ross and Dr. May felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. They were about to meet beings who had not just survived but flourished in conditions that would kill most species in minutes. The humans' mastery over their deadly homeworld made them either the most valuable potential allies in the galaxy, or the most dangerous species they had ever encountered. The first contact with Earth was about to begin, and nothing in the Galactic Science Council's vast database could have prepared them for what was to come. The human vessel docked with the research ship with surprising precision. Captain Ross watched through the reinforced observation window as the airlock cycling process began. His security team stood ready, though he had ordered them to keep their weapons powered down. First impressions were crucial. Atmospheric composition adjusted to match Earth standards, Dr. May announced, her crystalline form vibrating with nervous energy. Though I must say, I'm concerned about the high oxygen content. We should all activate our protective fields. The inner airlock door slid open with a soft hiss. 3 humans stepped through, and Ross immediately understood why his species had never ventured into high-gravity worlds. The humans moved with an easy grace that seemed impossible given the crushing gravitational forces they lived under. Their movements were quick, precise, and displayed a strength that made Ross's security team shift uncomfortably. The human in front, wearing what appeared to be a formal blue uniform, stepped forward. "I'm Commander Jack Thompson of the United Earth Space Command," he said, his voice carried clearly through the translation matrix. "We've been watching your ship for the past few days, wondering when you'd make contact." Ross blinked all 4 eyes in succession, a gesture of surprise among his people. "You knew we were here? Our cloaking technology is impressive," Commander Thompson finished with what Ross would later learn was called a smile, but Earth's detection systems have been continuously upgraded over the centuries. We've had too many close calls with asteroids to risk missing anything in our orbital space. Dr. May floated forward, her crystalline structure catching the light in a way that made the humans murmur in appreciation. "You monitor your entire orbital space? The energy requirements must be enormous." The second human, a woman with dark skin and short hair, stepped forward. "Dr. Linda West, Chief of Earth's Planetary Defense Network. And yes, the energy requirements are substantial, but necessary. When you live on a world that faces regular natural disasters, you learn to be prepared for anything." The third human, a stockier man with graying hair, introduced himself as Professor Tom Miller, Earth's leading xenobiologist. His eyes were already scanning the alien delegation with poorly concealed excitement. "I have so many questions," Professor Miller said, pulling out a small device that Ross's sensors identified as a basic data tablet. "Your biological diversity is fascinating. 3 entirely different evolutionary paths represented in your crew alone." "Actually," Ross said, trying to maintain diplomatic composure despite his own scientific curiosity, "that's precisely why we're here. Your world, Earth, it's classified in our system as a Category-12 Deathworld. The fact that you've not only survived but built an advanced civilization is unprecedented." The humans exchanged glances, and to Ross's surprise, they seemed amused rather than concerned by this classification. "A death world?" Commander Thompson said, raising an eyebrow. "I suppose from your perspective, it would seem that way. But to us, Earth is just home. Sure, we have our challenges, earthquakes, hurricanes, extreme temperatures, but they've shaped us, made us who we are." Drive West nodded in agreement. "Every challenge forced us to innovate. Earthquakes led to better building techniques. Extreme weather pushed us to develop advanced prediction systems. Even our space program benefited, launching rockets through our dense atmosphere and strong gravity well meant our engines had to be more powerful than they might have been on a calmer world." Professor Miller was practically bouncing with enthusiasm. "And the biological adaptations. Our bodies are constantly fighting and adapting. Did you know we have microscopic organisms living inside us that help us digest food? Our immune systems are in a constant state of warfare against pathogens, and we're stronger for it. Ross noticed his security team taking subtle steps backward, their protective fields humming slightly louder. He couldn't blame them. The casual way these humans discussed living with constant threats was unnerving. But surely, Dr. May interjected, her form pulsing with confusion, such constant struggle must impact your society negatively? The stress alone. Commander Thompson laughed, a sound that made several of Ross's crew jump. On the contrary. Facing challenges together has united us in many ways. When natural disasters strike, you'll see people from all over the world coming to help. We call it human solidarity. Fascinating, Ross said, his scientific mind racing with the implications. Would you be willing to share more detailed information about your adaptation processes? The Council would be particularly interested in your environmental management techniques. We'd be happy to, Commander Thompson replied, but we have some questions of our own. We've detected several of your observation posts in nearby star systems. We'd like to know more about the Galactic Science Council and its intentions. Ross felt his scales flatten slightly. Their hidden observation posts weren't supposed to be detectable. These humans were full of surprises. Perhaps, Drive West suggested, noting the sudden tension, we could establish a cultural and scientific exchange program. Both sides clearly have much to learn from each other. The next few hours were spent in detailed discussions, with both sides sharing basic information about their civilizations. Ross noticed that the humans were careful about what they revealed, just as he was. Despite their seemingly open nature, they showed a shrewd understanding of diplomatic relations. As the meeting drew to a close, Commander Thompson made an unexpected offer. We would like to invite a small delegation to visit Earth's surface. Under controlled conditions, of course. Your protective fields should handle our atmosphere, and we have facilities designed for various gravitational preferences. Ross looked at Dr. May, who bobbed her crystalline form in the equivalent of a nod. This was an unprecedented opportunity, though not without risks. We accept, Ross said, though the Council will need to approve the details. As they watched the humans return to their ship, Dr. May turned to Ross. Sir, do you realize what this means? If we can understand how they've adapted to these conditions, it could revolutionize our understanding of species development, Ross finished. But more than that, May. These humans, they could change everything. A species that treats survival on a Category-12 world as normal? That sees constant challenge as an opportunity for growth? He looked out at the blue-green planet below, seeing it with new eyes. We thought we were discovering a primitive species struggling to survive in harsh conditions. Instead, we may have just met the most resilient species in the galaxy. The implications of that discovery would soon ripple through the entire Galactic Science Council, marking the beginning of a new era in interstellar relations. The descent through Earth's atmosphere was more turbulent than Captain Ross had expected. Even with their most advanced stabilizers, the shuttle rocked and shuddered as it pushed through the thick air. Dr. May's crystalline form clinked softly against her protective casing with each bump. How do humans manage space travel through this? Ross wondered aloud, gripping his seat tighter as another wave of turbulence hit. The energy required to break free of this gravity well must be enormous. Their human guide, Commander Thompson, sat comfortably in his seat, completely unfazed by the shaking. You get used to it. Though I must admit, watching your reactions to things we consider normal is quite entertaining. The shuttle broke through the cloud layer, and the alien delegation got their first close-up view of Earth's surface. They were approaching a facility in what the humans called North America, chosen for its relatively stable geological activity. Welcome to the International Xenological Research Center, Commander Thompson announced as they landed. We've adjusted the environmental controls in your section to match your home world's conditions. As they exited the shuttle, Ross and his team activated their protective fields at maximum strength. The gravity alone was challenging enough, but the oxygen-rich atmosphere would have been lethal to them without protection. The research center was a massive complex of interconnected buildings, each designed to accommodate different alien physiologies. But what caught Ross's attention was the window view of the surrounding area, trees swaying in the wind, clouds gathering in the distance, and mountains looming on the horizon. "Is that weather forming?" Dr. May asked, her crystalline structure vibrating with concern as she watched the dark clouds approach. "Just a thunderstorm," Professor Miller explained, joining them at the window. "They're quite common here. Would you like to observe it from our weather station? It's quite safe." Before Ross could politely decline what seemed like a dangerous proposal, a brilliant flash of lightning split the sky, followed by a thunderous boom that made the alien delegation flinch collectively. "That was a small one," Professor Miller said casually. "The really interesting storms come during hurricane season." The next few hours were spent touring the facility's laboratories, where human scientists were eager to share their research. Ross was particularly intrigued by their medical bay. "You deliberately inject yourselves with weakened pathogens?" he asked, horrified as he watched a demonstration of vaccine production. "As a preventive measure?" Drive West nodded, pulling up a holographic display of the human immune system. "It trains our bodies to fight off more dangerous versions. We call it vaccination. It's helped us overcome many deadly diseases. But the risks," Dr. May began, "are far less than the risks of not doing it," Drive West finished. "That's something you'll learn about humans. We believe in facing challenges head-on. It's how we've survived." The tour continued to the physical training facility, where the aliens witnessed something that would haunt their dreams: humans voluntarily exercising under increased gravitational conditions. "They're making their environment more difficult on purpose," Ross whispered to Dr. May as they watched humans lifting weights and running on treadmills. "They deliberately stress their bodies to become stronger." "It gets better," Commander Thompson said, overhearing them. "Wait until you see our extreme sports documentation." The footage they were shown next left the alien delegation in stunned silence. Humans climbing frozen waterfalls, diving into deep ocean trenches, jumping out of aircraft for fun, and racing vehicles at dangerous speeds. "These are recreational activities?" Ross asked weakly. "Some humans find danger exciting," Professor Miller explained. "It's part of our psychological makeup. We don't just adapt to challenges, some of us actively seek them out." As if to emphasize his point, the thunderstorm outside had grown stronger. Rain lashed against the windows, and lightning flashed continuously. To the aliens' shock, they saw humans walking outside, some carrying only small portable force fields called umbrellas for protection. "But it's not all about thrills and survival," Drive West added, leading them to another section of the facility. "Our harsh environment has also driven us to create beauty." She showed them an art gallery filled with human creations, paintings capturing the raw power of ocean storms, sculptures inspired by volcanic eruptions, music that mimicked the rhythm of rainfall. The aliens began to understand that humans hadn't just survived their deadly world, they had embraced it, celebrated it, found inspiration in its dangers. The day's tour concluded with a dinner demonstration. The aliens watched in fascination as humans casually consumed substances that would be considered toxic on most worlds: fermented beverages, spicy foods, and plants that contained mild poisons that humans had learned to not just tolerate but enjoy. "I think I understand now," Ross said as they prepared to return to their shuttle. "Your species didn't just adapt to survive here. You've made this deadly environment fundamental to your culture, your art, your recreation. Everything about you is shaped by it." Commander Thompson smiled. "Earth is harsh, yes, but it's also beautiful. Its challenges have made us inventive, resilient, and curious. We've learned that the most dangerous environments often hold the greatest opportunities for growth." As they boarded their shuttle for the return journey, Dr. May turned to Ross. "Sir, I've been analyzing the data we've gathered today. The implications for the Council will be significant," Ross finished. "These humans don't just survive here, they deliberately seek out greater challenges. They've turned environmental adaptation into an art form. And most importantly..." He paused, watching Earth's storm-racked surface fall away below them. "They show no sign of stopping. They're already looking to the stars, seeking new challenges." The thunderstorm followed their ascent, lightning arcing through the clouds around them. But this time, Ross saw it differently. It wasn't just a deadly display of Earth's hostile nature, it was a demonstration of the raw energy and potential that had forged humanity into what they were. The real question now wasn't whether humans could survive in the galaxy, but whether the galaxy was ready for humans. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Science Council was rarely filled to capacity. Today, however, representatives from over 300 species crowded the massive circular room. Captain Ross stood at the center platform, his scales slightly paled from stress as he presented his findings about Earth. "As you can see from the data," Ross said, gesturing to the holographic displays surrounding him, "humans have not only survived on their Category-12 world but have developed technologies we never considered possible under such conditions." The chamber erupted in murmurs and clicks of disbelief. A representative of the gas cloud beings of Nebula 6 floated forward, their forms swirling with agitation. "You expect us to believe," the representative's translated voice boomed, "that these humans intentionally built cities in areas prone to geological instability?" "Not only that," Ross replied, bringing up images of Tokyo, San Francisco, and other earthquake-prone cities. "They've developed building technologies that allow their structures to absorb and adapt to seismic activity. They call it earthquake-proof architecture." Dr. May floated forward, her crystalline form glowing with excitement as she took over the presentation. "But their architectural achievements are just the beginning. Look at their medical technology." The holographic display shifted to show human medical procedures. Many council members turned away or shut their sensory organs as they watched humans literally cutting into each other to perform surgery. "Yes, it seems brutal," Dr. May acknowledged, "but their ability to repair physical damage is unprecedented. They can reattach severed limbs, transplant organs, and even manipulate their own genetic code to fight diseases." A representative from the hive mind species of Collective 7 buzzed in confusion. "But why take such risks? Surely there are safer ways to..." "That's exactly what makes humans unique," Ross interrupted. "They don't avoid risks, they challenge them directly. This approach has led to developments that could benefit all our species." He displayed a new set of images showing human space technology. Their high-gravity environment forced them to develop extremely efficient propulsion systems. Their atmospheric shuttles have to be incredibly durable. Even their basic material science is advanced because everything they build must withstand extreme conditions. The council leader, an ancient being of pure energy contained within a specialized field, moved forward. "Captain Ross, while these achievements are impressive, they also raise concerns. A species forged in such hostile conditions, are they safe to interact with?" Ross had expected this question. "During our visit, we observed that humans have developed strong ethical principles alongside their survival instincts. They have a concept they call hospitality, the protection and care of visitors. They went to extraordinary lengths to accommodate our delegation, creating specialized environments for each of our unique physiologies. But their potential for violence," another representative began, "is matched by their potential for cooperation," Dr. May cut in. "Look at their history. Yes, they've had conflicts, but they've also consistently come together to face greater challenges. When parts of their world face natural disasters, humans from all regions provide aid. They've united to solve global problems like climate change and disease outbreaks." Ross brought up his final display, a recording of human children in a school, learning about alien species with excitement and curiosity. They're teaching their young about us already, preparing them for a future of galactic cooperation. Their natural curiosity and problem-solving abilities make them ideal allies. There's something else to consider, he continued, his voice growing more serious. Humans are already advancing their space exploration capabilities. Within a few generations, they'll reach other worlds independently. The question isn't whether to interact with them, but how to do so productively. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. A species that considered a Category-12 world normal would find most other planets easily habitable. Humans could potentially colonize worlds that other species considered too hostile. There's also the matter of their adaptability, Dr. May added. In just a few centuries, they went from primitive combustion engines to antimatter containment. Their rate of technological advancement is concerning. Not concerning, Ross corrected. Impressive. And potentially valuable. Imagine human innovation combined with our established scientific knowledge. They've already proposed several solutions to problems we've struggled with for generations. The council leader's energy form pulsed thoughtfully. You're suggesting we officially recognize Earth and invite them into the galactic community? Yes, Ross said firmly. But not just as another member species. I propose we establish a new division within the council, the Environmental Adaptation and Survival Department, with humans as key contributors. Their experience in overcoming environmental challenges could help countless species. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives were excited by the possibilities, others worried about the implications. The council leader raised an energy tendril for silence. We need time to consider the full implications, the leader announced. But given the evidence presented, and the fact that humans are already aware of our existence, we cannot delay action for long. Ross and Dr. May exchanged satisfied looks. They knew that in the methodical, cautious Galactic Council, this was practically a rush to action. In the meantime, the leader continued, Captain Ross, your team will continue as our primary contact with Earth. Establish preliminary diplomatic relations and begin collecting more detailed scientific data. But be careful, we don't want to advance their technology too quickly. As the session ended and the representatives filed out, Dr. May turned to Ross. They don't understand yet, do they? About human innovation? Ross shook his head. No, they don't. By the time we establish formal diplomatic relations, humans will probably have reverse-engineered half our technology just from observing our ships. Should we warn the council? Ross watched the various species departing, each returning to their carefully controlled, safe environments. No, he said finally. Some things they need to learn for themselves. Just like humans did. The galaxy was about to change, ready or not. Humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage would mark the beginning of a new era, one where the impossible became merely challenging, and where challenges were seen not as obstacles, but as opportunities. 1 year later. The massive construction project in Earth's orbit was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Humans and aliens worked side by side, building the first joint human galactic research station. Captain Ross watched from the observation deck of his ship, still amazed by how quickly things had changed. Sir, Dr. May called out, floating up beside him. You need to see this. The humans have done it again. She pulled up a holographic display showing the station's construction logs. Human workers were operating in space using what they called basic EVA suits, equipment that their alien counterparts considered barely more than emergency gear. They worked longer shifts, handled heavier materials, and seemed completely unfazed by the dangers of space construction. They're adapting even faster than we predicted, Ross said, watching a human worker casually jet through space carrying a beam that would have required anti-gravity units on most worlds. How are the joint research projects progressing? That's actually what I wanted to show you, Dr. May replied, her crystalline form gleaming with excitement. The human approach to problem-solving is revolutionary. She brought up another display, showing various laboratories within the station. In one, human scientists were helping develop new materials based on their experience with earthquake-resistant buildings. In another, human medical experts were working with alien biologists to adapt their healing techniques for different species. Look at this, Dr. May highlighted a particular project. Remember the colonization crisis on Frost Prime? The ice planet that was considered too unstable for settlement? A human engineer looked at the problem and said, "This is just like building in Antarctica." They've already drafted plans for viable colonies using modified Earth technologies. Ross watched as more reports came in from around the galaxy. Humans were being requested as consultants on countless worlds, helping solve problems that had stumped other species for generations. Their experience with Earth's harsh conditions had given them a unique perspective on environmental challenges. And here's something interesting, Dr. May continued. Remember how worried the Council was about human aggression? Look at these statistics. The display showed that human security teams were becoming highly valued throughout galactic space. Not for their potential violence, but for their protective instincts and ability to handle crisis situations. They had already prevented several disasters on other worlds, using their experience with natural catastrophes to save lives. Their learning capacity is extraordinary, a new voice joined in. Commander Thompson walked onto the observation deck, now wearing the new uniform of the Joint Space Command. "But I have to admit, we're learning just as much from you." Ross turned to greet him. "Oh? I was under the impression humans were teaching us more than we could teach them." Thompson laughed. "Are you kidding? Your faster-than-light technology alone has revolutionized our understanding of physics. Though," he added with a grin, "our engineers have already suggested several improvements to make it more efficient." "Of course they have," Ross sighed, but there was amusement in his voice. The three of them watched as a new section of the station was moved into place. Human and alien workers coordinated perfectly, their different approaches to the task complementing each other. "You know what the really interesting thing is?" Thompson said thoughtfully. "Working with other species has made us realize something about ourselves. We always thought we were just doing what was necessary to survive on Earth. Now we see that what we considered normal was actually preparing us for something bigger." Dr. May's form pulsed with curiosity. "What do you mean?" "Look at that," Thompson pointed to a group of young human and alien scientists entering the station's new xenobiology lab. "The next generation won't see any barriers between species. They'll grow up knowing that different approaches, different biologies, different ways of thinking, they're all valuable. Earth's challenges taught us to adapt and innovate, but working with you is teaching us to share and collaborate." Ross was about to respond when an alarm sounded throughout the station. A solar flare had been detected, heading straight for them. Before he could even process the danger, the humans had already sprung into action. "Standard radiation protocol, people," Thompson called out calmly. "All non-shielded species to the central bunker. Engineering teams, double-check those magnetic shields. Just like a bad day in the Van Allen belts." Within minutes, the station was secured. What would have caused panic among most species was handled with practiced efficiency by the humans, who treated it as just another environmental challenge to overcome. "And that," Ross said to Dr. May as they watched the humans coordinate the response, "is why the galaxy needs them." As the solar flare passed harmlessly by the protected station, Ross reflected on how much had changed in just 1 year. The galaxy had feared that humans, forged in the fires of a Category-12 Deathworld, would be too dangerous to integrate into galactic society. Instead, they had proven to be not just valuable allies, but essential partners in pushing the boundaries of what was possible. "Captain," Thompson called out, checking the station's status reports. "We're getting requests from several worlds for our solar flare protection protocols. Should we share them through official channels or?" Let me guess, Ross interrupted, you've already made some improvements to the standard designs? Well, we had some ideas about using Earth's magnetosphere principles on a larger scale. Ross and Dr. May exchanged knowing looks. This was how it always went with humans, every challenge was an opportunity, every problem a chance to innovate. The observation deck's view changed as the station rotated, bringing Earth into sight. From up here, the Category-12 Deathworld looked peaceful, beautiful even. But Ross knew better now. It wasn't despite Earth's challenges that humans had become such remarkable beings, it was because of them. You know, Dr. May said, her crystalline form reflecting Earth's blue glow, we came to study how humans survived on a death world. Instead, they're teaching us how to truly live among the stars. As if to emphasize her point, a group of young alien scientists passed by, excitedly discussing plans to visit Earth's deep-sea research stations. What would have been unthinkable a year ago was now becoming common, species from across the galaxy wanting to experience the challenges that had shaped humanity. The galaxy was changing, growing, adapting. And at the heart of this transformation were the humans, the impossible species from a world that should have been too hostile for life. They had not just survived their deadly home, they had turned its lessons into a gift for all species. As Ross watched Earth's clouds swirl below, he wondered what other surprises this remarkable species would bring to the galaxy. One thing was certain, the age of careful, cautious expansion was over. The human age of bold exploration and innovation had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.